you can't do what he did and just breeze in and out when it suits you.
Prince Harry is in London, but he won't meet his father, the King. The Duke of Sussex arrived from LA alone, without Meghan or their children, for a busy diary of events marking 10 years of his Invictus Games. Before setting off from California, it is understood Harry was said to have been keen to see the King for only the second time since his cancer diagnosis. It is rather telling that confirmation there will be no meeting has come from the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex rather than Buckingham Palace. Harry's team say it unfortunately will not be possible due to His Majesty's full programme. They add, the Duke is of course understanding of his father's diary of commitments and various other priorities and hopes to see him soon. Now the word that jumps out is priorities. The King, we understand, is busy as he returns to public duty. For instance, today, on Tuesday, while Harry was in London, the King was carrying out his constitutional duty and meeting the Prime Minister of Fiji at Buckingham Palace. The King is also set to host a palace garden party and weekly audience with the Prime Minister on Wednesday, and Harry's diary is packed for a full 3 days with his Invictus Games. However, they will be at times just 2 miles apart and risk even driving past each other on London's roads. Some observers may see this as sad, that father and son cannot find time for each other. Others may say that it's understandable as both have work commitments and, in Harry's words, priorities. But maybe there has just been too much water under the bridge for father and son to play happy families amid such huge public attention.
I don't think anybody is surprised at what's happened there, because Harry's been pretty scathing about the royal family, especially about Queen Camilla, who is there supporting the King every single day in his work. And of course his brother, which the damage there seems irreparable. I don't know if it will ever be solved. So he's not exactly the darling Harry, my darling son Harry the King used to call his youngest son. He's in fact in many ways, I think they'd sooner he didn't come here unless he comes for good and decides to work for the royal family. I mean, he's had a wonderful life, a magnificent education. His royal role has given him great privilege and great access to things that a normal person wouldn't be able to get. And, in spite of all that, he decided to live in America. And I understand that's your choice, but not to go and live in America and then rubbish your family. And that's just not on. And the fact is, I'm sure the King could have seen him. I mean, after all, he's at a garden party this week. I'm sure Harry could have turned up there if he wanted to. And I'm sure that there could have been time for it. I know if it was my son coming, I'd find time to see him. And that would be a normal thing for a family to do. But obviously, this is not over yet. This anger towards Harry and that book and that interview, in which, his wife, Meghan, intimated that the royal family was racist. And, it took a statement from Prince of Wales to say this family is not racist. And I don't believe it is either. But that was left, a lot of people felt that was bad and it was nasty. And some people maybe thought it was a good idea to do those things, but no one here, no one who loves our royal family, who respects our royal family and the hard-working royal family going through very difficult times at the moment. I mean, where was Harry when the King was getting treatment for cancer? It's a great triumph that the King is back at work now and back to the grindstone for him, which is going to be long, hard days. And obviously, his time's packed. There's so many things to catch up on, but I'm sure if he wanted to, he could have found time to see Harry. He obviously doesn't want to. And Harry seems to have accepted it. He seems to accept the fact that he respects the King's diary, that he's full, well, fair enough. But Harry's going off to Nigeria next week and Meghan will be joining him there. It's such a pity she can't join him here occasionally, although I suspect she realises that she's probably, of all the members of the royal family, it's probably got the lowest approval rating for the damage she's done by many of these interviews and of course Harry's book.
I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people.
For me, it's a shame because Harry, as you probably know, I had a lot of time for Harry. I thought he was one of the most fabulous people to work with. I can't tell you, he was just a joy to work with. But sadly, he's turned his back on all that. And now it's just a question of he pops in and out when it suits him. Well, it probably suits him, but it doesn't suit the King. So I'm sorry, Harry, not this time, maybe next time. I think Harry has to realise that you can't do what he did and just breeze in and out when it suits you. You can't just say damaging things about your brother, stupid things like we had a fight, I mean, who cares? I mean, every brother's had fight with my brother. You know, it just happens. It's just normal. And make that a big story and a big event, or not remember where he was when the Queen Mother died, but it does remember great detail about how he dislikes his brother, and now Queen Camilla tips her press off. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And yet, you know, he can't just walk in and out when it suits him, and not now. Maybe there's always a time when he can return, when he wants to return, when perhaps he wants to contribute something to our country without getting paid for it. Do something like he used to do, like he'd visit hospitals with children and very sick children, where he was just fantastic with them. I can't tell you this. Just by his presence, he used to bring smiles on the faces of all these very unwell kids, and yet he doesn't want to do that anymore. So he prefers the life in Los Angeles. Although I don't know what he does all day. I mean, it's he must be pretty bored a lot of the time. But you know, one of the big things, the problem is that they've got two children that are a prince and a princess, and that they don't come and see their cousins. And I find that strange as well. So not only Harry gets short shrift from the king, I'm sure the children wouldn't if they came. I'm sure he'd be grateful to see his grandchildren, but it hasn't happened, and that's a shame. Well, you know, there's bad blood there, you know, and I think, I mean, William is pretty still angry about it. You know, that's the saddest of all, you know, because, you know, those two were inseparable. I mean, they did everything together. They were just inseparable. After their mother died, they had each other. They comforted each other. They cried with each other. And then they did everything together. They skied together. They did everything together. They joined the Royal Air Force together. They did flight training together. And you know, William, because of his rank in the royal family, couldn't go to war, but Harry did, and he was a great hero, you know, and he did his service, and for that we mustn't forget. But you know, you can soon forget the good things when you get nasty things said about the royal family, and I think that still probably hurts with a few of them. I think certainly with William, probably with Camilla, although Camilla's very forgiving. But and I think the king, look, I know, however busy you are, you've always got time for your children. And nothing, in my view, is more important than family. And perhaps Harry should remember that sometimes.